All right. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is for all of you out there. Want to do a quick update on Camper 8.0, and as you guys can see here, I got the uh, AC pod completed. So, if you happen to be new here, just as a little recap, I've made a number of these campers. I live in the desert, so having an air conditioner is a priority for me. And what I tend to use, I'm going to pull this off here. This thing is mocked up right now, obviously. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so what I use is I found that I can use these simple 5,000 BTU window AC units. They're readily available. They're pretty inexpensive. You know, maybe max price about 200 bucks. And most significantly, they can be run off of a lot of the larger power banks or solar gens is another term that you see out there, or a lot of batteries, especially with the capacity that a lot of these lithium ion batteries have. You can run these for extended period of time. So for the last 7 of my 8 campers, I've used these window units, and I've used a variety of different mechanisms to install them in the camper to where they work efficiently. But also, you know, I want to try to make them aesthetically pleasing, so it's not just an AC unit sticking out the back, and also protect them from the elements. I've had some where the AC unit actually sits entirely in the camper. There's just simply a door on here. The opening has to be wider to allow for intakes right here, and it also required an air diverter so that it wasn't sucking the hot air coming out of the condenser around. Probably my most common setup was somewhat like this one. The AC unit would kind of sit roughly 50-50 between partly inside the camper, partly outside. And I had a box that was pretty similar shape to this. Of course, it didn't have the open cavities. It would sit on a cleat, and then if you'd use it, you'd lift off the box. And that would require a little bit of a wider opening. But that system worked pretty well. And then I just recently built a van, and I put in a window AC unit like this. And because of some unique technical challenges of where I installed it on the van, the liftoff method wasn't there. So what I did is I actually built a box. I called it a AC pod. It was shaped a little differently because it followed the contour of the rear window of the van. But this is a new system that I came up with, and I decided to incorporate it in this camper. So essentially, this is this little box area is fixed to the outside of the camper. And I found that the little door that you guys saw in here, this is just a utility door. This is something I found on Amazon. It would be used for like, I don't think that's made specifically for like a breaker box, but like a utility access for like residential or commercial applications. Like, let's say you wanted to have a panel door where you could access like plumbing behind a wall, or, you know, maybe like a single switch breaker or something like that. Anyways, long story short is I found that the particular door I had fits perfectly with the size of the rear of the condenser. And then on the sides, sorry about that, guys, I'm kind of moving around grabbing stuff. I found these little vents, and it's amazing all the little things you could find on Amazon if you look around long enough. And when I get the final coating on here, these will attach right here, and you'll have the door obviously on the front like it was in the intro of the video. And then up here, I found another little vent that fits up here. Okay. Now you guys saw some black and white. The likely finish that will be on this camper is a dark brown. And if you guys watch my channel, or if you go through and look at other videos, it will be the same color as Camper 6.0. And I thought that door that's white now, I couldn't find a black one, but I'll paint that black. All 3 vents will be black. And I think that'll blend really well with the you know, that dark, rich brown that the cedar wood will be finished with. And then the nice thing about this setup is when you go to use the AC, you just has a little key. You just simply open up that utility door. That opens up access to the the condenser, so the hot air blowing over it can escape. And then the intake, which is there's fins on the sides, and then there's a fin on top here. The air is sucked in around the intakes. Now, when I built the pod for the van, which this is modeled directly after, I of course did a lot of tests to make sure the efficiency wasn't disrupted by the resistance of the vents and all this stuff. And it seemed to work really, really well in my application. So I went ahead and duplicated that here. Now, I'll be honest with you. I was so happy with the shape of this camper and how it was looking, as I had a lot of concerns about putting that little box in the rear because I thought it would kind of disrupt the overall look of the camper. And, you know, obviously it's all up to personal interpretation, but I have to say, me personally, I was very pleasantly surprised. I thought the little box actually added to the aesthetics of the camper. So I was very pleased with how it turned out. The vents and the door and stuff I will not attach until after I get the finish on the outside of the camper here. So what I did just for aesthetic purposes, plus it also provides a little bit of extra stability, is I extended down and added, you know, these little decorative curves. On the last, I think since 4.0, so roughly, you know, the last half of my campers, I've always included a little spot for a gas can. Most of the time I've used these roto packs. They're pretty expensive, but I like how they mount, and I think they look real nice and clean. I won't lie to you, some of it is just kind of part of the fad of what's out there today. A lot of it's aesthetics. I think those cans give a nice, you know, kind of break up the continuity of the back of the camper. I think it looks really nice here. But there is a valid reason. I mean, I have a dual sport motorcycle that I'll carry with me commonly, so it's nice to have a little extra fuel on board of my truck. My particular truck I use has like I think it's a 34-gallon fuel tank. It has, like, if you fill it up, it's got like over a 600-mile range. So not to say you never need fuel, but for the most part, I'm not worried about carrying extra fuel because I have a limited capacity. But anyways, whatever the reasons are, this was a perfect spot to where I could nest those fuel tanks down there. Right now, that's just in position for a mock-up. I actually have an extension, so I'll be able to carry a second roto packs. I bought a white one for water to just carry extra fluids on there. Another thing I thought about is I typically don't put... Ooh, sorry about that. I typically don't put heaters in my campers. However, I was debating... I do have a diesel heater laying around, and I was kind of thinking of maybe putting it in this one just to have it, just in case. And if that were the case, I would use one of those fuel tanks for diesel and plumb that the diesel heater fuel pump into those tanks. That way I can carry the diesel on the exterior of the camper. But let me go show you guys the AC pod on the van, so you can kind of see one that's completed. Now, of course, the one in the van is shaped differently, and it'll have a different color match, but I think you guys will kind of get a sense for what they look like. Okay, so here you can see the AC pod that's on the back of the van. Now, obviously, this one's shaped a little differently because it followed the contour of the window, and this one is a painted one and not... won't be the wood finish like the other one. But when you go to use it, you just open this up. I have a little stick that if it's a little breezy, you could just kind of wedge in between there to keep it open. And you expose the condenser coil right there. And when you don't need it in use, you just close this up like that. Very easy to get it started. And then I think it obviously provides a lot of protection to the AC as far as physical damage, and I think it just looks a lot nicer than, you know, if it was just a plain AC hanging out there. And it probably, you know, it also does provide a little bit of protection from the elements as far as wind and everything.